Hi guys, welcome to Passport to Pasta. Here I'm with Ashley today, who's living in Rome from Ohio, and she's been living here for 16 years. So,
long time.
Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start with asking you, what made you move here in the first place?
It's kind of a long but a short story. So I was living in LA at the time. I'm originally from Ohio, and I moved to LA for school, for college. And I had recently broken up with like a long-term boyfriend, and I decided I kind of wanted to go on an adventure and travel. And my next door neighbors had family in Rome, and they had a few retail stores on Via del Corso.
Okay.
And so the idea was I was going to come here to work just for a few months. I put everything in storage with the intention of, going back there. And I met my husband, my now husband, the first day that I arrived at the airport, because he was working that day. It was his day off.
What?
It was his day off, and he just happened to be there that day working.
Yeah.
And we met that day. He worked in transportation. If you know what the NHC is, the big like Mercedes vans.
That take you from the airport.
Right, they take you from the airport.
Yes.
And
he was your driver.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He was my driver.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
And he saw me with like all these suitcases, because I was supposed to be coming here for several months. I wasn't just here for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're never going to find, a taxi like with all of those bags." And so he was like, "Well, let me take you to where you're going." And I was like, "Okay." And then we like exchanged numbers, and yeah,
The
rest is history. And I actually never moved back to the U.S. after that. Once I was here, like we started dating, and I stayed, and I went back and forth just to like visit family, but never like to live again.
Yeah.
Once I was here, I stayed here, and yeah.
You just gave me chills, because it's so similar to my story, because I was also living in California, had a bad relationship, felt like I needed to get out, started traveling, and I met my husband here, and I wasn't gonna stay, but then I ended up staying. So,
yeah.
Wow. So I understand.
Those Italian men,
I know they get you.
That's how it goes, yeah. So yeah.
So he's from Rome.
So he's from Rome.
Okay.
He grew up in the center of Rome until he was like, I want to say 5 or 6. And then his dad got a job at the airport.
Yeah.
And they moved to Ostia.
Okay.
And then, he finished elementary school, high school, all of that in Ostia.
I have to ask the most important question. Is he a Roma fan or Lazio fan?
So weird to say, but he actually does not follow sports.
Okay.
Like, isn't that
right.
I know it's strange.
It's better than the wrong answer.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't even know how to answer that. Like every now and then if there's a game on TV, like he'll watch it, but like he's like the only Italian man I know who like
doesn't take it as a religion.
Exactly.
Okay. All
exactly.
Right. So he has more time for you.
He has more time. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, and so I stayed after that. I taught English for a while, hated it.
Okay.
Didn't like it because I didn't like school. I wasn't like a great student. I didn't love being in school. And so kind of going back into that environment as a teacher, didn't love it.
No. Okay. I feel you. Not at school.
Yeah. Not at school. So I did that. That was like my first job. And then we opened together a transportation company.
Okay.
That we recently closed last year.
Okay.
And now we're kind of in the process of rebranding a new sort of like tourism and travel company. So hopefully in the next few months it'll be up and running.
Great. Okay. Well, we're definitely going to link the information here below.
Yeah.
So if anybody, because as I said before, I think that people who are thinking of moving here, first they're going to want to dip their toes and come on a trip and see how it is, So that's good to have resources for that. So you guys work together. Mm-hmm. My husband and I too.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's nice being able to live together, work together, but it does come with its challenges sometimes.
It does come with its challenges because you don't have a lot of time apart. Mm-hmm. But it can also be really nice because I feel like a lot of couples, you are away from each other all day and then you might come home like around 7 o'clock at night and you have very little, the kids, dinner, all of that. And then, especially with the traffic here in Rome, you would have very little time to ever spend together. So in a way, it's kind of nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. The main challenge I have, because we work together, is that if we're having a disagreement with something work-related, it's hard for me to not have it spill over into then our personal, because there's not, we're working at home, so there's not like, okay, we're off the clock now, we're friends again.
Yeah.
So that's been something that I've been getting better at, but it's been a challenge.
And he's from Rome as
well, he's actually from New York. But his mom is from Rome.
Okay.
So he grew up going to an Italian school in New York.
Okay.
So he already knew the language and would travel here multiple times a year.
Okay.
And so as soon as he finished high school, he moved over here.
Okay. And does he have any other like family here? Does he have like grandparents or?
His great aunt actually lives here in Prati, and she's 93 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We do Christmas there every year, and so I love
fun.
coming to Rome for the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have 2 children.
We have 2 children. We have 2 girls, 3 and 10.
All right.
Sofia and Eleonora. So we had to give them the Italian names.
Beautiful names.
Yeah. And so our first daughter was born in 2015.
Okay.
And then our second daughter was born in 2022, like at the very end of COVID. The very end of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw you post online, because you have quite a following on social media, and you shared that your kids, their first language is Italian, actually, and yours obviously isn't.
Right.
So you kind of learned it together.
We learned together, yeah. And just to go back to what I said previously, I would say the majority of the Italian language that I have learned throughout my time here came from, although I didn't like teaching English, it came from my time teaching English because I was working with kids.
Yeah.
And because their language is very basic, it's very easy to sort of pick up, sort of basic phrases and words. If you're sitting at a dinner table with adults, for example, and, they're talking about things that are really complex and using vocabulary and words.
Expressions.
Exactly. And a lot of slang and stuff like that is kind of hard to follow the conversation. But when you're working with kids and they're speaking in a very sort of elementary,
they dumbed it down.
a literally, elementary way, it made it easier. So that's how I learned the most of my time. But my 10-year-old's always embarrassed when I don't know like how to explain something, and then I'll just go back to English and she'll be like, no, Mom, that's not how you say that, and so
she apologizes for you.
Yeah. The good news is that my husband usually deals with the homework and all that. So we kind of like divide and conquer as far as like the school goes. So it's like I'll do like the teachers meetings and the birthday parties, that kind of stuff, but like he does, the homework is his deal.
So when you moved here, at first, how did you handle like the bureaucracy, like the visa, what kind of process did you go through? So
I feel like it was easier back when I came here to get a visa, to get a permesso di soggiorno, citizenship. All that was much easier, like almost 20 years ago. And I feel like now it's gotten a lot more difficult, and there are a lot more sort of prerequisites and sort of a whole other course that you have to go through. Like now there's the Italian language.
They didn't have that before.
They didn't have that before, as of like 2 or 3 years ago. And so it was an easier process. I got my visa through, like, I think it's called the Raggiungimento Familiare, non mi ricordo.
Okay.
It's like a family visa. So it's not really a permesso di soggiorno. It was because when my daughter was born, I got,
Okay. For having, your daughter.
For having our daughter, because we weren't married. We actually just got married after all these years together last year. No, I'm sorry, not last year, October. So.
No way.
I guess technically last year, because October was 2025, but.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I feel like that's very Italian too. Like people are together for years and then they might not get married at all, or they get married after like 10 years together.
Did you get married here in Rome?
We did, yeah. And so I am just now starting the sort of the citizenship process. So I'm on like a long-term visa now, and then now we're starting the citizenship process. So I'll get back to you with the bureaucracy. We'll see how that all goes.
Are you going to go to a CAF, or what are you? Because I'm also have to do my citizenship now.
We met with a lawyer at the CAF. I'll probably do it privately.
Okay.
I think it probably moves a little bit faster if you pay a private, like an immigration lawyer. There are lawyers that work through the CAF, but I think there you're probably just another number.
Yeah.
And it probably takes longer.
Yes.
And so if you want something that's a little bit more linear and sort of fast, then probably the way to go would be an immigration lawyer.
Have you already done the language exam?
I haven't. I should be taking it in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just signed up. I'm doing it in February in Cagliari in Sardinia.
Okay.
And they said that once you take the exam, at least there, it takes like a couple months for them to let you know. But even if you do pass it, then you have to wait until they send you the official certificate to be able to use it to apply for your citizenship.
This is very
which
Italian.
takes like
Even,
8 months.
Right.
And they said, don't ask me why. There's nothing I can do about it.
See, I didn't know there was that other additional step. I just knew that it took a few months to get your results.
Apparently it's like a 8 month total, the whole thing. So I'm looking at least 8 months for my citizenship. I don't know if it's going to be the case in Rome. Definitely let me know.
Well, and I think after you start, they have 2 to 3 years to respond.
Okay.
With like a decision or a court date or however it works. Like if you, I assume you must have a court date, I think, probably like you would in the US with an immigration judge, I assume, where you have to like sort of say, you know, take the oath and all of that. But yeah, it's going to be a 3-year process. I'm just kind of preparing myself for sort of that amount of time. And if it's less than that, great. But I think that's probably more or less what it will end up being.
So even though you don't have your citizenship, you feel Italian probably at this point. Like, do you feel more American or more Italian?
I definitely feel more Italian. I go home and I don't really recognize it anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what it was like, you know, to be a mom in America, to sign my kids up for school, to navigate the healthcare system, like any of that stuff would be very foreign to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about your experience giving birth in Italy? Did you
we could,
good or bad?
We could do a whole podcast just on that. So my first daughter was born in the U.S.
Okay.
In 2015, and then my second daughter was born at the end of COVID, and we were all COVID positive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I had to give birth alone. And so my basically their whole school, their whole class, their whole school had COVID, like when I was 38 weeks pregnant. Like.
Oh my goodness.
And so, so I had to go to the hospital alone.
I can't imagine. I mean, I can because I did with my son. It was during COVID here in Rome, and I also had to do it alone. And
was your husband able to be with you?
No, he was outside the hospital, and then
so they wouldn't let like visitors or partners or
he came.
Oh
in,
wow! So you have a similar experience then.
And I didn't speak any Italian back then. I remember it
being
being
that's
terrifying.
Hard.
So I empathize with what you went through.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Which hospital did you give birth at?
Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the name of it now? It's about 20 minutes outside of Rome. Ospedale San Pietro.
Villa San Pietro? I don't know. Because I gave birth at Villa San Pietro. Were there like nuns?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a very big. Okay, and it's about 20 minutes, like outside of the city. Yes. Okay.
Well,
okay. Weird. Okay.
Yeah. I did not have the best experience there personally.
No. No, I did not.
Okay.
I had one of my doctors when I was in labor. She was really young. She was probably like the equivalent of like what you would say is a resident.
Yeah.
Super nice, and you know, you could tell that she felt bad for me, you know, because I was there by myself, and you know, you're in the COVID ward, so they can't really keep checking you all the time, because every time they come in, they have to like put on the,
oh my goodness,
you know, the hazmat like moon suit, and so you know, I kept calling her, and I'd say like, I think you need to come check me, you know, and but she was the only one who was nice to me.
Okay.
In that whole like experience.
So overall, did you prefer giving birth in the States or in Italy?
I
guess the COVID thing kind of
the COVID thing, you know, I feel like it wouldn't be fair to say because, you know, I'm sure the nurses, the doctors, they were under a lot of stress themselves at the time. And so I feel like it wouldn't be fair to say, it's hard to compare the two. I would say my experience was better in the U.S.
Yeah.
But again, you know, you're paying for that.
That's true.
You're paying a lot of money to have that better experience. So in a sense, it's kind of like you get what you pay for, right?
That's true.
And so I have a lot of good things to say about the healthcare system here. I think it's very effective and efficient. It doesn't have sort of all the bells and whistles of a private healthcare system, but that's to be expected.
Of course.
And so, yeah, it wouldn't really be fair for me to sort of say either way, but yeah, I think the COVID thing, because of that, it was a really hard experience.
Of course, I can imagine.
And I imagine for you as well.
Yes, yeah. I had to get an emergency C-section, and
okay, so you had to stay even longer.
I was there for like a week.
Yeah. See, and that's another thing. I feel like they keep you in the hospital for a long time, for anything here.
Yes.
It's like if you go to the hospital here for any reason, or if your kids are sick, like you have to prepare yourself.
Yes. Pack a bag.
That you're going to be there for a while. Yeah.
Actually, it blows my mind now hearing about how women in the States can like give birth and then like go home and
the next day.
Yeah. That seems like it would be hard.
Yeah.
Hard to do.
They gave me the option in the U.S. when I gave birth. They gave me the option to go home the next day. I opted to, stay one more day. Yeah. Because I felt like, it's your first baby and, they're so tiny and fragile and you want to make sure they're okay. So I stayed an extra day, but in theory, I could have gone home the next day.
That sounds terrifying, right? Because you're with this new thing, you don't really know how they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so do you have a lot of do you have an expat friend community here, or are you friends mostly with Italians?
Almost all of my friends. I have some expat friends, but not American friends.
Okay.
Where we live, there are a lot of Canadians, Germans, kind of from everywhere, really. But no, most of our friends are live in our area, and our other parents at my daughter's school.
Yeah.
And so there are a few. One of the fathers in my daughter's class is from Scotland, and we do have some of that. One is from Sweden, in my other daughter's class. So yeah, we do have some. We have an international community, but no Americans.
Okay.
Where I live, anyways, specifically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you first got here, what are some cultural differences? What are the first things that kind of threw you off?
Oh, I was thinking about that on the way here, actually, in the car, because I thought, that might be something interesting to discuss. I would say I was really young when I came here. I was 24. I just turned 40.
You don't look 40.
Oh.
You look great.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I try to avoid the sun, and that's kind of hard to do here, but I try to avoid the sun. So for me, I would say at least many years ago was probably, I feel like it was a lot more sort of male-centric, sort of patriarchal, old school, in a sense.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in a way, because there are undertones of that in the U.S. as well. But for example, in Italy, we have a female prime minister, which in the United States we've never had.
That's true.
A woman as our president. So that's interesting. So although there were a lot of those undertones and I felt this sort of patriarchal, sort of male-centric vibe.
You've seen a shift.
I've seen it shift.
Okay.
I've noticed a shift. Huh. Yeah, and also the no drinking.
Okay.
I think I've mentioned that a few times on my page. And your opinion might be different, owning a bar with college students, but I feel like the drinking culture here is a lot less than what I was used to in LA and just in the US in general.
I can attest to that, because here, this is why we're an American bar, because it's more profitable. And we have Italians that come and they'll order a shot and sip on it.
Yeah.
Literally, I had never seen that in my life. So
they'll get the Amaro.
Or they'll get one drink and babysit it for the evening. So it is
the one drink thing. Yes.
Yeah. And it'll be ice, and you try to pick it up. They're like, no, I'm still working on it. Okay.
Yeah,
I've
so,
noticed that.
you know, especially being 24 when I arrived. And I had some American friends who went to the university here, you know, when I first moved here, and we used to go out all the time. But
Yeah.
I would go out with them, you know, because they were American and they wanted to go out and drink and all of that. And so that was another thing I realized right away is just yeah, they're not big drinkers here.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
They're not big
that's true.
drinkers. And so over the years, I practically don't drink at all anymore because I'm never in a situation where people are drinking or that. And so after so many years like that, I kind of stopped drinking myself because it's just not a part of their culture here. And I'm curious if Sardinia is that way.
No, I mean, I think they drink a lot of wine, you know, like even with lunch and stuff. Like I go out to lunch and I'm not a day drinker. Like if I'll drink, it'll be like more in the evening because it makes me tired.
Yeah.
But I'll go to lunch and I'll notice that like every table around me will have a bottle of wine or beer. And so I think they drink, but it's not so much to get drunk. You know, they drink, but they take it easy. They take it
Back
slow.
to the one drink thing, like the one glass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think they do have a different approach, a healthier approach.
A healthier approach.
Yeah, it's more of a social drinking thing, but it's not like let's smash 10 beers.
Right, but even, you know, if you see people having, you know, lunch with their coworkers or their colleagues, you know, I think it's probably normal here for someone to have, you know, a beer or even a glass of wine and then go back to work.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because again, one drink, and so they have their one drink and then they maybe go back to work or whatever. So yeah, much different culture.
That's another
A lot
big
of smoking, not a lot of drinking.
That's true. That's true.
A lot of smoking, not a lot of drinking.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah, that shocked me how much people were smoking here when coming from, because especially in California, I feel like you are looked down on if you smoke.
So much.
You know, like
Yeah.
I used to smoke cigarettes a long time ago. I'm ashamed of that, but I remember feeling like I need to hide. I'm disgusting. And then I came here. I don't smoke anymore, and I'm like, oh, everyone's smoking all around me.
I was shocked at the amount of like, I don't know how to say it, like healthy people who smoke, like people who like they're outside the gym,
Yes.
like having a cigarette, and then they're going to go get on the treadmill.
The
or
nurses,
the doctors,
they're outside smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
Yeah, literally.
yeah. Like I remember back in the day, my daughter's first pediatrician was a huge smoker, like always outside smoking before we would come in, you know, for the appointment.
Yeah.
And we have other friends, you know, who are different types of doctors throughout the years, and they all smoked, which I
Yeah.
thought was really interesting.
I know, and it's incredible. My husband's aunt, I told you about, that lives here, that's 93. She's been smoking her whole life and just going great.
I feel like Italians are so healthy, though, generally speaking. They're active, they eat
Food
well.
is organic.
The food is organic. You know, they get a lot of vitamin D, obviously, from, you know, all the sun.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they can sort of combat the sort of like the cigarettes and all that
Yeah.
with the healthy lifestyle.
And you know what I think it is also is the levels of stress. Because I think stress has
Yes.
a huge impact on your health. And in the States, we're kind of like work, and so there's
Absolutely.
always this.
That's a good point. I actually
Right.
never thought about that, but that's actually a really
it just
good
came
point.
to me now.
Yeah, I always kind of equated it to sort of the food and, you know, all of those things. But no, I think you're right. I think you might be onto something. I think it's the lack of
Mentally,
stress.
which is also, you know, why we decided to stay in Italy. Apart from our husbands, is the lifestyle, right? Like
Yeah.
more relaxed. At least for me, it was like much less stressful living here.
Right. And I feel like years ago, it was actually not as common for women like us to move here. I feel like a lot of people who had an Italian partner, whether they were a man or a woman, tended to go to the States.
Yes.
Right, for economic opportunity,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. People move, if people do the reverse and they move to the States or to Canada, they're not moving for the lifestyle, they're moving for
Work opportunity.
work opportunities, right? Like the American dream, so to speak, was always economic. It was
Yes.
never like, that's the best lifestyle in the world. It's so relaxing. Like that was never
Exactly.
like that was never the selling
be
point.
happier.
Right. That was never the selling point. When we talk about the American dream, it was always economic, financial, and sort of from that aspect. And so it was. I think it's rare for people 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago to have come here instead of
That's very
going there.
true. That's very true. I think that
Yeah.
there's
more of us now. People
Yes.
are starting to
I
come.
think
People are
people
starting
are-
to come this way.
Exactly.
The world's gotten a little crazy the last couple of years,
Yes.
so I think we're seeing more of a migration sort of in this direction.
Exactly.
That we
And
didn't
that's
see.
a huge reason why I wanted to do this podcast is I've seen such an influx in people who are
So
curious
many.
about moving to Italy. And, you know, it's funny because I was telling my friends the other day, you know, people always talked about the American dream, and now it's kind of shifted and become the Italian dream. And
Or the
people are
European
dreaming-
dream.
Yeah, exactly. And people are dreaming of a more relaxed, healthy, safe
Safety.
environment to live in. Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people would rather be comfortable and living here than be super wealthy but super stressed, you know, in the States.
Right. And that's one thing that, you know, you appreciate here is you realize it's not about having a huge car or a big house. And I like that about here. I like that there isn't this sort of,
Competition.
yeah. Rome a little bit though, because Rome is still a big city at the end of the day, like New York, like
Yeah.
LA, like Paris, like London. And so there is sort of that, you know, want to have the nice car and the nice this and the nice, but not to the extent that you see, I feel like in the US, you know.
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Italians are not they're not the least high maintenance population of people I've ever met. So they do like their stuff, and
Yes.
they do, you know, they did, you know, many of the world's luxury brands are from here,
Of
whether we're talking
course,
about clothing
fashion.
or cars
Yeah.
or jewelry or
From the
high-end.
north, though.
Right, from the north, yes, not so much here in
Yeah.
Rome, but we're sort of like, we're like in the sort of the midpoint. We're not the north and we're not the south, so we're kind of
Exactly,
like
yeah.
right in the middle.
A healthy mix of everything.
A healthy mix, yeah. So there is some of that here. I don't want to say there isn't, because I've heard a lot of people talking online about, you know, when they moved to Italy, it was so exciting because they didn't have sort of that competition anymore. And to an
Yeah.
extent, that is true. You know, it's not like a competition who has the biggest house, who has the biggest SUV, who has this and that. But I would say Rome is a little bit bougie. There is some of that to an extent, though.
Yeah.
But on a lesser scale than what I was
Okay.
used to living in LA, especially.
Yes.
And probably in
Yes.
living in California
Oh,
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt like in California especially there was it was more superficial, and the way people behaved, everything, it felt a lot less genuine than my experience, like especially in Sardinia now, where you know it's very like people are not trying to impress anyone. You know,
Right.
they're just living for themselves and for what is good for them, and
Right.
so it's nice being surrounded by that.
It's nice and you know, that's what's so interesting about Italy is depending on where you live in Italy, you can have a totally different like lived experience, like life experience here.
That's
So
true.
someone who, like me, who's been in Rome for 16 years, my life is totally different than someone who lives in, you know, Milan or Sicilia or much like the US though, right? So if someone lives in New Jersey, their life is totally different from someone who lives in Texas,
Of course.
right? And so you have that here as well.
Have you traveled a bit around Italy?
Yeah. Trying to think my favorite. I mean, I'm not really a beach person.
Okay.
I'm not really a beach person. The beaches are beautiful, of course. But I'm more like mountains
Okay.
and like that whole vibe. So I like the north.
The Dolomites?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I like
I was
the north.
just there for my anniversary and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's too cold though with the snow. I couldn't do it year round, but
Yeah.
no, it's incredible. And the wildlife there.
And the wildlife, yeah. So, yeah, there's just so much to offer. There's, you know, where you live, and then there's the sort of like mountainous, there's snow, and so there's a lot. There's something for
everyone.
There's something for everyone. There's small town vibes,
Yes.
you know, there's like the Abruzzo vibes. I
Yes.
follow a few moms who live in Abruzzo that moved here from the US, and, you know, so there's the small town vibe, and then there's the big city vibe. And Milan is a lot more expensive even than Rome,
Yes.
if we're talking about like cost and,
Yes.
and all of that. So, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And what are some of your favorite things to do around Rome? Like, what do you do on a
on like a
normal
Sunday?
daily, yeah.
We really like taking a walk in Villa Borghese and, you know, renting the monopattini,
Yes.
the, you know, the e-scooters. And I would say our favorite thing to do is the passeggiata, the Italian passeggiata, which is when you take a walk with your family, usually in the afternoon. And, you know, you have a nice lunch somewhere, you stop and you find a restaurant maybe that you've never tried before.
Yes.
It's
a super walkable city.
It's a super walkable city, and so I love spending like a Sunday afternoon just walking for a few hours and exploring new stores and new restaurants. And yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about living in Rome.
All right.
Exploring the city. Yeah.
And do you think that you'll stay in Rome forever? Are you guys thinking to maybe change things up?
We've been talking a lot about that lately, and as I was telling you before, we often wonder, you know, for a while we thought maybe we were in the wrong country and we wanted to like totally change altogether like where we were living, but now we're like, maybe we're just in the wrong city, like maybe we need to try a different area in Italy, and maybe that would, you know, be better and less chaotic, less expensive, safer, and like sort of all of these things that we feel like we're missing here in Rome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been giving it some thought.
So we'll find out.
Yeah, stay tuned.
When you do, yes.
Stay tuned. So yeah, probably not leaving Italy, because that, you know, that gets harder as time goes on, and especially having a daughter who's almost in middle school. You know, you have to think about them as well and uprooting them, and that's the hard thing about Europe, is that although technically speaking, you know, we could move anywhere in the European Union, each country has its own language.
Yeah.
And so you have sort of, you can't, it's not sort of like in the US where you can move from one state to another. It's like, you know, we can't just take our almost middle school child to Germany, for example.
Exactly.
And then she's starting a new school in Germany and doesn't speak the language. And so that makes it difficult. I think you have to think about the whole language thing as far as like relocating somewhere else in Europe. So
that's true. So
but even the dialects in Italy, though.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So even
you
that
can't
would
go to like Naples and then expect that you're going to understand everything. Yeah. Maybe you do have to try like a smaller town if what you're looking for is like less chaos, more security.
Yeah.
I think that you can easily find that here in Italy.
Yeah. There's something for everyone. Like we said, there's definitely a place for everyone, and that's what's really nice, is the sort of diversity of choice. Yeah. I feel like. So.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you.
And hopefully some of this information will be helpful to someone.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, it's very inspiring to hear. And you're like the immigrant expat that has been here the longest that I have interviewed. So it's quite impressive. And, you know, it's inspiring for me because I'm halfway there now.
You're halfway there. It goes fast. It goes really fast.
It does.
And you know, you're lucky in that you're an entrepreneur, because I think people have this idea that they're going to come here and like get a job, and it doesn't work like that.
That's true.
You don't.
That's true.
You know, unless you're hired by like a big company or the embassy or something like that. So just do your research, and you know, there are a lot of different types of visa options if you are looking into it, or through property investment. Business investment, if you have that opportunity, if you have, you know, if you're lucky enough to be able to have that.
It is to be said that being an entrepreneur here is much harder than in the States because of the bureaucracy and everything, and the taxes. It's much harder to make it as an entrepreneur. So I think it's important to really do something you believe in, and you can't like half-ass it.
No.
You've got to really commit.
You have to really commit, and patience is key.
Exactly.
Patience is key.
Yeah.
So. Yep.
I think that's the Italian motto.
That's the Italian motto.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.